What's going on, guys? Mike from FDT-TV here. This is my season review for the 21-22 season. It's been an up and down season, some positives and some negatives. There's a lot to get through. Let's get into it. So, as I said, guys, a lot to get through. Firstly, finished fifth, narrowly missing out to them up the road. Very disappointing. Overall, I'd say there have been improvements that we've seen from this season from previous seasons where we finished 8th. We are back in Europe. I know that was one of our goals at the start of the season to get back into Europe. We'll get on to the painful bit a little bit later on, obviously just missing out on Champions League. We've seen more of the Deadwood come out of the club, which is brilliant. But if we go right back to the start of the season, we're looking at some of the signings that we made in. Ben White, obviously, centre-back from Brighton. Aaron Ramsdale in goal from Sheffield United. Sambi Lokonga, Nuno Tavares, and then finally Martin Odegaard from Real Madrid. And Takehiro Tomiyasu, another player that came in fairly late into the transfer window. Now, let's just talk about these signings at the start of the season. There were a lot of speculation regarding some of the signings that we made. Had we overpaid for some of them? There was also talks about, especially for Tomiyasu, I remember the deadline day hitting and basically saying that there was other clubs that didn't want him, so we ended up with a bargain basement signing there. But I've got to say, what an actual signing he was. He's been absolutely brilliant. Martin Odegaard, we see what he could do from last season from his loan spell. Finally made that permanent. Aaron Ramsdale, again, another player with a lot of speculation at the start of the season, but he's been absolutely phenomenal. And Ben White as well has been absolutely brilliant in the centre-back positions, paired up with Gabriel. Now, as I said, expectations for the start of the season, no European football, so it's vital to get back into Europe. At the start, as I said, European football, at least one piece of silverware, were my expectations for the season. But the start of the season didn't go so well. 3 games on the bounce, 3 defeats. Not a great start. Brentford, Chelsea and City. Chelsea and City, I think, were going to be difficult games. When we went into the start of the season, a few players light, obviously due to the Euros, and COVID was still rife at the time, so we did miss those players. We then went into the League Cup with a comfortable 6-0 win. Aubameyang was back at this particular point, I believe got a hat-trick in that one. And then we went on a bit of a bounce. 9 games undefeated, including a 3-1 win over them up the road. Shortly after that, 3 more losses in the league to Liverpool, United and Everton. Again, started to look a little bit grim. But at the same time, during the course of that, we managed to get to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, eventually going out to Liverpool over the course of 2 legs. We looked really strong in the first leg, potentially could take the game back to the Emirates and nick a win. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Looking into the start of the year as well, an early defeat to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup left a lot of fans very angry. And the chances of silverware had gone at that point. We gave ourselves too much to do at the start of the season, obviously, with those 3 defeats to challenge for the title. And by this point, I think City and Liverpool were already running away for it. Now, the start of 2022 was a bit of a strange one. A harsh defeat from Man City, I'd say, was probably one of our best performances of the season, and should have got a lot more out of that game. But then, after that defeat, there was an international break, I believe, and obviously the transfer window was open. One player, I think a lot of fans were gutted to see go, was our captain. We said goodbye to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Was frozen out of the team for disciplinary issues and didn't seem to be getting his way back in, and there was a lot of speculation at the time about him potentially going, and he finally sealed his deadline day move to Barcelona. Spirits were low amongst the fans. I can imagine possibly at that particular point were a little bit low within the dressing room as well. It was a difficult time, but the results, they kept coming. A 6-game unbeaten run followed, and things were looking up. A loss to Liverpool seemed to derail some momentum at that time, which led into 3 games which we should have won against Palace, Brighton and Southampton, but we lost them. Plain and simple, performances were not good enough and cost us dearly. However, we then had 3, I would say, difficult games at that particular point. Chelsea, Man United and West Ham. And I think a lot of fans, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of fans, we weren't expecting much from these 3 games. Chelsea were doing well, West Ham were doing well, United were a bit hit and miss, but this seemed to be one of those games where we would go on and win it. However, we won all of them. It come as a bit of a shock, and it was looking like at that particular point that 4th place could be ours back into the Champions League. Again, coming into the latter stages of the season, we did see some key injuries to Thomas Partey. Kieran Tierney picked up an injury during training after an international break, and it left us a lot to do towards the latter stages of the season. We needed a win against Spurs to guarantee Champions League football at that particular point. Unfortunately, that didn't come. I'd say we're possibly one of our worst displays of the season. We didn't seem up for it at all. Rob Holding was a bit of a knob, I've got to say, during that particular game. Got sent off fairly early for some ridiculous challenges. Can't argue with that. Gave away a penalty. Harry Kane come to do what Harry Kane does well against us. And it was a bit of a humiliating defeat. But again, I think it was one that we could all see coming. Spurs then went on to win their game, and we had to play Newcastle. Again, a lot to do within that game. Newcastle, since Eddie Howe took over, had put in some absolutely brilliant results. And to be honest, I know Eddie Howe's only been in since I believe it was January, but for me, one of the managers of the season, without a shadow of a doubt, up there with David Moyes for me for the season. But again, we needed to win, and I think the pressure got to the boys, and we lost another humiliating loss, 2-0 against Newcastle. At that point, the chance was gone. It did leave us a slight chance. Norwich, I kind of gave away a surprise there. Spurs travelled to Norwich on the last day of the season, and we hosted Everton. It was a lot to ask of Norwich, who were already relegated at that particular point. But Spurs went there and absolutely run right over them with a 5-0 win. And I think by that point, the pressure was off us, and we did our bit. Obviously, depending on the result, we beat Everton 5-1. It's for some of the games throughout the season, it is extremely painful looking back at some of those results. Silly defensive mistakes, silly red cards had cost us to play in the Champions League this year. Whilst there is some negativity, I think on the whole we can hold our heads up high. We've got one of the youngest squads in the league, one of the thinnest squads in the league. We did send quite a few players out on loan. We did get rid of, as I said, some deadwood at the start of the season. But I think the performance that we put in to finish 5th, I think is a damn good performance. For me, a star man of the season, Bukayo Saka, has been absolutely brilliant. Played every Premier League game. Was absolutely fantastic. He scored 11 goals with 7 assists, and he's so talented for a player so young, and it's vital that we get him locked down on a longer contract. I think he's on something stupid like 30 grand a week. I'll say something stupid for the talent that he's put in, and for the performances put in. He definitely needs to get locked down on a new contract. Honourable mentions, I think, as well, to Emile Smith-Rowe, 10 goals and 2 assists this year, and certainly Martin Ødegaard, 7 goals and 4 assists, and also Martinelli, 6 goals and 6 assists. For me, just to be able to highlight all 4 of those players at such a young age for us, I think is a testament to what Mikel Arteta is doing at the club, how well they've progressed. under him, and hopefully they can push on and do more in the next season. The signing of the season for me, Aaron Ramsdale. This was a tough one because I think Ben White's pulled off some great performances. Tommy Yasu has had some brilliant performances. Martin Ødegaard has been absolutely brilliant. But for me, Aaron Ramsdale was the signing of the season for us. It's a great first season for the young goalkeeper. A lot of people had him written off before he'd even played a game for us. However, very quickly became a fan favourite and pulled off some incredible saves throughout the year to keep us in games. I think one of the ones more notably was the save against Maddison against Leicester. Even Brendan Rodgers kind of turned around to look towards the camera and couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. It was an absolutely outstanding save. Most improved player for me, Thomas Partey. Was sorely missed when it came to the latter stages of the season and he picked up an injury. Was vital in the middle of the park. I mean, I know Mohamed Elneny come in and played some absolutely brilliant games, but I think the quality for Thomas Partey is something else, and hopefully we can see more of that going into next season, and keep the injuries at bay, because injuries have become a little bit of a worry for him in his Arsenal career. But when he does play, I think he's absolutely brilliant. Most consistent, Granit Xhaka. I know he does still have a bit of a nutty boy moment in him. We've seen it a couple of times this year, and I would say has cost us games just when we think we're about to get back into a game or into a game. He has cost us. There's no holding it back. But I'd say on the overall season, definitely been one of the more consistent players, and I think has been a testament to show some of the lads around him what sort of performances you need to put in. Overall, good season. May that continue going into next season. Lacazette is coming towards the end of his contract. To be honest, I think it's come at the wrong time. He's always kind of been in the shadows, I would say, since Aubameyang come in, never really getting a look in. And I know Aubameyang had more about him in terms of goal scoring, certainly in the early part of his of his Arsenal career. However, I think Lacazette's always played second fiddle. There have been games that he's been absolutely brilliant in. Gets in the right positions, holds the ball up well, kind of like an Olivier Giroud type player. Whilst he does score goals, does provide assists as well. But if that is the last game he's played for us, it will be sad, because he's been at the club for a little while and never really got the opportunity to shine, I feel. But I'd personally like to say thank you for your contribution towards the team over the years, your professionalism. Wish you all the best if you do move on. So my closing thoughts. This is I've kind of had to think long and hard about this. Obviously, being back in Europe, albeit the Europa League, playing Thursdays and Sundays, I think is going to be a big challenge for us next year, and the recruitment over the summer is going to be vital. Whilst Eddie Nketiah has shown us towards the end of the season what he can bring, I think we still need to bring in at least another striker, and other positions, possibly left back, to cover Kieran Tierney, because again he's another player who's picked up a lot of injuries. And not that I'm saying that I think Nuno Tavares is poor, because it's his first season with us, but I feel like he could, or he needs to be pushed more. And I think if we are to contend for anything in the coming season, I think we need a stronger person in that position, or we need to kind of focus more on Nuno Tavares, give him further coaching. But obviously, I think that some comments have come out over the last couple of weeks about Mikel Arteta's training style, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that one over the course of the weeks. The games will be coming thick and fast next year, obviously, with the World Cup. But I would say with the COVID cases being reduced, we should see, where we can, a more normal season, which will be good. So, yeah, I think for next season, if we get the recruitment right and reduce the number of silly mistakes, I'm not saying we're going to get rid of them completely, because there will always be an element of a silly mistake, even for the best teams in football. There'll always be a silly mistake, but if we can reduce the number of silly mistakes, we may be able to push on and maybe challenge for some silverware this year. I would say to get a decent cup run in the Europa League, another good run in the League Cup, and also the FA Cup, I think would be a good shout for us this year, and also challenge for that top 4 position this year, because we only narrowly lost out to Spurs, and to be honest, I don't think they were the better team than us. In fact, no, that's a stupid statement, because they obviously were the better team because they finished 4th. I think they were lucky to finish 4th, only beating us by 2 points. And had we had another couple of results go our way, that position would have been ours weeks ago. But it is what it is. We march on to next season. Obviously, myself and Ian still going to be doing the podcast over the coming weeks, because we've got the Nations League coming up. So yeah, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks very much for watching, if you have continued to watch this far, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers, guys.